In this presentation, I'm going to be showing you how to make selections in Photoshop. In Photoshop, we have a variety of tools that allow us to make selections, to pick things, to choose things. We've been using the rectangular marquee tool, but we also have others, the elliptical and single column, single row and single column selection marquees. We also have the lasso and magnetic lasso. We have a magic wand tool as well. I'm going to start with the magic wand tool. Magic wand tool, or any of the tools, once you've selected them, give you a number of different options in this area right here. The magic wand has a tolerance. What the magic wand does is picks a pixel wherever you happen to click, and it will pick other pixels that are like it, and this determines how close they have to be alike to that original pixel. And the bigger the number, the more it'll take. The smaller the number, the more it has to be like the original, and it will then select less. Contiguous refers to whether or not the pixels that are being selected need to be adjacent or next to selected pixels. Contiguous, they would have to be next to. They would have to be adjacent to selected pixels. If contiguous is not selected, the pixels can be anywhere in the image. They do not have to be adjacent to selected pixels. So let me go ahead and we'll leave it right here where we're at right now with 32 as a tolerance. I'll just click in this area here, and you'll notice that it then picked all of this area around the violin, nothing inside of the violin. That's because with my tolerance of 32 and my contiguous, all of these white pixels were close enough to the one that I clicked on, and they are all touching each other that it was able to select those. If I deselect or unselect by doing Command D on the Mac, if I make this a smaller number, like a 2, and now click in approximately the same area, you'll see that it does not select as many. My tolerance is tighter. I'm making it select only those pixels that are much more closely like my original. And I still have contiguous, so those pixels must be adjacent to each other. Let me go ahead and we'll put this back to 32. I'm going to deselect, but this time I'm going to take and get rid of the contiguous. I'm going to select in approximately the same area, but now you'll notice that it not only picked those original ones in the background, but now I have some pixels that are of the same color within the tolerance that have also been selected, but they are inside of the violin and they are not touching or adjacent to any other selected pixels. That is because I have the contiguous removed. If what I'm trying to do is select only the violin, one of the logics, or at least my logic here, would be to select what's easier. Pick the background, which is not the violin, and then inverse my selection. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to put my contiguous back on. I'm going to select my background. So now I have everything selected but the violin. So I'm going to go up to select. I'm going to do inverse, and now what it has chosen is everything that was not previously selected. Everything that was previously selected is no longer selected. So it inversed the selection. And so if I go to move this selection, what I'm moving is the violin and not the background. So I've now selected just the violin. We also have some modifier keys that we can use while we're making selections. And we can do that either with modifier keys or with these icons in here. In this position, this is just making a new selection. You'll notice that there's no extra symbols next to my selection tools. If I were to pick the next item, it would add to that selection and you'll see a plus. That would allow me to add to whatever I've already selected. If I go and click on the next one, that would allow me to subtract. Notice the minus beneath the magic wand. That would allow me to remove from whatever I've currently selected. You can also achieve the same results using the modifier keys on the keyboard. If I hold down the Shift, I'll get the plus sign. If I hold down the Alt, I get the minus sign. So I can add or subtract using my modifier keys. What those again allow me to do is add or subtract to an existing selection. So for some reason I wanted to select something down here and add it to, or let's say subtract it from my selection, then I could either hold down a modifier key or use subtract, and I could subtract that from my selection. I could remove this piece from my selection. I can use any combination of tools that I wish. So I've used the rectangular marquee, and maybe I want to remove part of this from my selection. So now the neck and the tuning part of this violin is not included, only up to this part. So use your modifier keys and a variety of selection tools to select whatever you need to select. You are not limited to using only one tool and selecting everything on your first try. You can continue to modify and refine your selection, zooming in whenever you need to, adding and subtracting, changing tolerance and options to get whatever you need to get for your selection. That concludes the presentation on making selections in Photoshop.